The dropship, Ashhound, descended through a sky heavy with ochre-colored clouds from the cockpit. The city below looked untouched, immaculate streets, clean lines, no smoke columns or cratered scars of bombardment, but the Gravewalkers knew better. Nothing untouched ever stayed that way on a dead world. Captain Riker Vance stood at the bay door as the ship settled, armored from head to toe in matte black combat plating etched with faint Terran glyphs. The Gravewalker insignia, open hand gripping a skull, glowed blood red on his shoulder. Touchdown confirmed. The pilot said is Chu no local cans. City grid reads functional but idle, not idle. Sergeant Mayor Wren muttered, stalled. Like someone slammed pause right before the killing started. The bay doors hissed open. The 6-person squad fanned out in disciplined silence, boots crunching against fine gray dust. Their HUDs pinged the perimeter, no life signs, no movement, not even electrical interference, just stillness. Private Kovic crouched near a bench in what had been the colony's central plaza. A child's doll, half buried in ash, stared up at him with glassy eyes. He lifted it, turned it over, and found the back scorched, as if exposed to extreme radiation, but no radiation registered on sensors. There's no decay, he said. Everything's preserved. Too preserved. Kevar-9 was a thriving Osari outpost, Wren said, scanning the surrounding towers. 10,000 settlers, families, scientists, diplomats, all gone. No signs of combat. No emergency broadcasts. Just one image. She pulled it up on the shared feed again. A lone obsidian spire in the middle of a stone courtyard coated in something that looked like dried blood. Behind it, Osari corpses stacked, fused into a pillar, a warning, or a ritual. Vaughn stepped into the square and froze. There it was, the obelisk. Tall, silent, humanoid bones protruding from its base like fossilized roots. No tool marks, no construction seams. The stone didn't reflect light, it drank it. This wasn't built by the Osari, he said. This is older, possibly pre-collapse tech. Subsurface scanners. Negative, Kovic replied. It's blocking every wave we bounce down, like it's absorbing them. Corporal Dax, the team's intel specialist, moved closer, adjusting his helmet's sensory intake. There's writing on it, not Osari, not human. Something older, looks like a neural cipher, recursive patterns, psychoreactive language. Wren drew her rifle. Don't read it aloud. Too late. The air around the obelisk shifted. A low hum began, almost inaudible, like the sky itself was holding its breath. A faint vibration rippled under their boots. Clems, the youngest of the squad, grunted. Captain, I think something's in my head. Everyone turned. Clems swayed on his feet. His eyes rolled back. His lips moved. You came too late. The wound is opened. We remember the flames. Then his body convulsed. Dax sprinted forward with medfoam, but Clems stopped twitching. He wasn't dead. He was petrified. Solid gray stone. Details frozen mid-expression like a sculpture of agony. Retreat, Vance snapped. We're pulling back to the Ashhound now. The Gravewalkers moved fast, training weapons outward. Shadows flickered between buildings but never formed fully. Lights dimmed as they passed. Something watched, but not from above or below. It watched from between. Recording everything, Vance said. Even if we don't make it, someone has to know what we found. As they reached the dropship, a sound echoed through the empty streets. Not a voice, a memory. Gravewalkers again. Always again. Then silence. Total. Not even wind. Vance looked at the black spire one last time as the bay doors closed. This wasn't an attack, he said. This was a message. The ship lifted off, but the signal they sent back to Fleet Command was brief, and would be their last. Kevar-9 compromised. Contact unknown, ancient hostile, recommend orbital quarantine. Gravewalkers proceeding deeper. Transmission ends. The elevator groaned as it lowered them below the city's foundations. Each meter deeper, stripping another bar from their comes. The Osari had built their colony atop ancient tectonic bedrock, yet the schematics recovered from orbit showed unauthorized excavation. Tunnels far older than the colony itself. Captain Vance stood with arms crossed, eyes on the flickering readout, as dim emergency lights bathed the shaft in red pulses. Wren checked the oxygen filters. Still clean, no biocontaminants, but the statics increasing. Feels like we're walking straight into a solar storm. More like into something that's been waiting, Kovic muttered. They reached sublevel 3. The doors hissed open, into a vast corridor, then a cathedral, wide enough for a dreadnought tank. The architecture was clearly nanosari, jagged angles, metal fused with stone, walls lined with biomechanical veins that pulsed faintly, like the remains of something long dead, or dreaming. Dax swept a scanner across the walls. Organic elements in the structure, mostly silicon and carbon, but laced with trace amounts of stabilized dark matter. I don't even know what that means. It means this place doesn't want us here, Wren replied, raising her rifle. They advanced slowly. At the center of the tunnel, they found a chamber circular 30 meters across. In the center stood a half-buried construct, a sphere 3 meters wide, blacker than the void. It shimmered when light passed over it, but no reflection came back. Around it, The floor was scorched in a spiral pattern like something had been burned into the ground. Kovic shivered. I've seen these before. Not exactly this, but similar tech. From the Nakari War, memory engines. Devices used to store entire mind civilizations compressed into quantum data. The Nakari called them soul coffins. Then who's in this one? Vance asked. Ren touched her helmet, then froze. Captain, I just received a ping. Private Clems. The squad turned to her, shocked. That's impossible, Dax whispered. He's gone. Vance's jaw tightened. Play it. Ren routed the data. A single voice emerged in the silence, distorted, layered over with echoes. It was Clem's voice, but stretched, broken, like it was being forced through a dying machine. Don't come down. Don't remember, we're inside it now. It's not asleep. It's curious, static, then nothing. Kovic stepped back. We're not alone in this place. Wrong, Vance said, eyes locked on the sphere. We're inside something. Something that thinks. The walls began to vibrate. A low guttural hum filled the chamber, rising in frequency until it settled into a rhythm, not random language. The Gravewalkers' neural links struggled to decode it. Then the translations began to appear. We reminder war. We reminder Erd. We reminder the first scream. We were left here. We awaited your turn. Dax looked around in horror. Captain, it knows we're human. The sphere pulsed. Suddenly all six of them saw the same thing. A shared vision of ancient war. Not holograms, memories, cities burning, skies torn by gravity implosions, starships screaming as they fractured across dimensions, and always, the same symbol appearing in the ruins of Terran's skull. Vance staggered back, gripping his head. This isn't possible. These wars happened before the human expansion era, Ren growled, or someone made them think we caused it. The sphere flickered once more. Then the words flesh, mind, bone. The price will be paid. Then silence. The hum vanished. All lights went dark. Then the ceiling above them began to shift, massive mechanisms unlocking like a maw preparing to open. Extraction. Vance breathed. This isn't a ruin. It's a trap. It called us. Suddenly, the entire facility shook as something deep beneath them began to rise. The ground screamed, not an earthquake, not metal grinding. This was something deeper, older. The sound was raw, memory transmitted psychically into their minds, with all the fury of a wounded god. The floor beneath the Gravewalkers cracked along, glowing fissures, blood-red light seeping up like lava. Captain Vance gritted his teeth as his neural implants overloaded. Warning glyphs flashed across his HUD. Cognitive stress, critical. They staggered back from the sphere, which had now lifted off the ground, hovering weightlessly in the chamber's center. It was no longer silent. It throbbed like a heart dot, and it spoke again, not with words, but with emotion, betrayal, despair, fire, rebirth. Sergeant Wren raised her weapon. Captain, request permission to fire. Vance hesitated. His instincts screamed to destroy it, to purge whatever this entity was, but something in him, some primal fragment of ancestral memory, held him back. Negative. If it wanted us dead, we'd be stone statues like Clem's. This thing's judging us. Dax spun toward a newly exposed wall as more panels receded, revealing intricate carvings, images, and obsidian relief, showing alien civilizations crumbling. Across every mural, the same motif reappeared, black-armored humanoids, with blank faces, and skull-shaped insignias. Gravewalker armor, Dax whispered. But that's impossible. This tech's only been in use for 40 years. Kovic shook his head, his voice dry. Unless they didn't copy us, we copied them. Then came the laughter. It started low, synthetic, layered in octaves. It wasn't mocking, it was hollow. The laughter of something that had forgotten joy and now remembered only irony. That the sphere pulsed again. A beam of energy struck the ceiling and the chamber began changing. The walls melted away like old skin. Beneath them, new shapes emerged. Huge machines lined with skeletons, humanoid, or Sari and others, too alien to name, still wired into what looked like control interfaces. Their skulls bore signs of trauma, but their minds had not left peacefully. They had been drained. Ren backed away. Captain, this wasn't a prison. It's a labyrinth, and we're walking in circles. No, said Vance. Not circles. A spiral. Inward. From the far end of the chamber, a deep rumble echoed. A door was opening, not made by Asari hands. The stone was darker than space, rimmed in teeth-like mechanisms that retracted with wet mechanical groans. A voice boomed. From the shadows, not from the sphere, but something deeper, closer to the planet itself. The Gravewalkers return. You wore the armor, you lit the fires, you forgot us. Suddenly Kovic collapsed. His visor went black. Man down, Ren shouted. But when they reached him, he wasn't unconscious. He was locked in place, staring up with wide, unblinking eyes. Then he spoke. I see it now. I see before Earth we were elsewhere, not human, not yet. The armor came first. The war never ended, it just forgot itself. Dax scanned Kovic's vitals. His neural network's been hijacked. It's using him to relay ancestral data. Vance leaned closer, heart pounding. Ancestral. You're saying this thing remembers what came before us? No, Ren said slowly. I think it's saying we came before us. The light dimmed. The air thickened like syrup. And from the opening ahead, something emerged, humanoid in shape, massive in scale, black as night, but flickering at the edges like it existed in multiple timelines. Its eyes were pits of gravity. It didn't walk, it floated, limbs outstretched, held aloft by unseen currents. And as it moved, the sphere spoke one last time. The debt is due. One must pay, or all shall be remembered. The ground screamed, not an earthquake, not metal grinding. This was something deeper, older. The sound was raw memory transmitted psychically into their minds, with all the fury of a wounded god. The floor beneath the Gravewalkers cracked along glowing fissures, blood-red light seeping up like lava. Captain Vance gritted his teeth as his neural implants overloaded. Warning glyphs flashed across his HUD, cognitive stress critical. They staggered back from the sphere, which had now lifted off the ground, hovering weightlessly in the chamber's center. It was no longer silent. It throbbed like a heart. And it spoke again, not with words, but with emotion, betrayal, despair, fire, rebirth. Sergeant Wren raised her weapon. Captain, request permission to fire. Vance hesitated. His instincts screamed to destroy it, to purge whatever this entity was, but something in him, some primal fragment of ancestral memory, held him back. Negative. If it wanted us dead, we'd be stone statues like Clem's. This thing's judging us. Dax spun toward a newly exposed wall as more panels receded, revealing intricate carvings, images, and obsidian relief, showing alien civilizations crumbling. Across every mural, the same motif reappeared, black-armored humanoids, with blank faces, and skull-shaped insignias. Gravewalker armor, Dax whispered. But that's impossible. This tech's only been in use for 40 years. Kovic shook his head, his voice dry. Unless they didn't copy us, we copied them. Then came the laughter. It started low, synthetic, layered in octaves. It wasn't mocking, it was hollow. The laughter of something that had forgotten joy and now remembered only irony. The sphere pulsed again. A beam of energy struck the ceiling and the chamber began changing. The walls melted away like old skin. Beneath them, new shapes emerged. Huge machines lined with skeletons, humanoid, or Sari and others too alien to name, still wired into what looked like control interfaces. Their skulls bore signs of trauma, but their minds had not left peacefully. They had been drained. Wren backed away. Captain, this wasn't a prison. It's a labyrinth, and we're walking in circles. No, said Vance. Not circles. A spiral. Inward. From the far end of the chamber, a deep rumble echoed. A door was opening, not made by Asari hands. The stone was darker than space, rimmed in teeth-like mechanisms that retracted with wet mechanical groans. A voice boomed. From the shadows, not from the sphere, but something deeper, closer to the planet itself. The Gravewalkers return. You wore the armor, you lit the fires, you forgot us. Suddenly Kovic collapsed. His visor went black. Man down, Wren shouted. But when they reached him, he wasn't unconscious. He was locked in place, staring up with wide, unblinking eyes. Then he spoke. I see it now. I see before Earth we were elsewhere, not human, not yet. The armor came first. The war never ended, it just forgot itself. Dax scanned Kovic's vitals. His neural network's been hijacked. It's using him to relay ancestral data. Vance leaned closer, heart pounding. Ancestral. You're saying this thing remembers what came before us? No, Wren said slowly. I think it's saying we came before us. The light dimmed. The air thickened like syrup. And from the opening ahead, something emerged, humanoid in shape. Massive in scale, black as night, but flickering at the edges like it existed in multiple timelines. Its eyes were pits of gravity. It didn't walk, it floated, limbs outstretched, held aloft by unseen currents. And as it moved, the sphere spoke one last time. The debt is due. One must pay, or all shall be remembered. Captain Vance stepped toward the rift, its swirling energies pulsing like a beating heart. The light was neither hot nor cold, it simply was, ancient and alive. Humming with the weight of billions of forgotten voices. Behind him, Wren tightened her grip on her rifle. You sure about this? You might not come back the same. Vance didn't answer. He reached forward and touched it. There was no pain, no heat, only falling. Not through space but through self. Memory, reconstruction. Stream active, he stood on a battlefield that bent gravity like a wounded animal. The sky cracked like shattered glass, revealing layers of war piled on top of one another like time itself had tried to bury the truth and failed. He was armored sleek black, more fluid than solid. Weapons extended from his limbs as thought, not motion. Around him, thousands like him stood, and at their center a tower, white, bone-like, pulsing. But it wasn't a command center, it was a mind farm. Vance's voice came out of his memory self, not in words, but intent. Shut it down, but someone stood in his way. Another him. Older eyes hollow, armor scarred. You already tried that, the old self said. You tried mercy. It brought us extinction. The younger Vance. Suddenly, everything stopped. A voice echoed. There were two paths. One forgot. One became monster. The memory shattered. He dropped to his knees on the Kevar-9 floor, gasping. Wren knelt beside him. You were out for 10 seconds, but your brain showed 10 years of activity. Vance coughed. I saw everything. The war, the truth. We burned. Entire galaxies trying to fix ourselves, but we never did. So we rebooted Earth. We made ourselves weaker on purpose. We thought if we forgot our power, we'd forget our cruelty. Kovic stirred, conscious again. Then why are we back here? Dax answered, voice trembling, because the past always wants to be remembered. The being loomed over them again. The choice is made. You have seen, but to carry memory is to carry judgment. Suddenly the planet screamed, not metaphorically, from beneath the chamber. Colossal mechanisms turned. The sphere began to descend by layer, revealing a massive structure hidden within a cannon, ancient and quantum-locked, aimed not at space but through time itself. Dax's readings went wild. This is a chrono weapon. It doesn't destroy stars. It deletes eras. If it fires, it could erase Earth's origin timeline. Vance turned to the being. That's the debt, isn't it? You're not just remembering, you're offering payment. To end the cycle by unmaking us entirely. You chose to remember. Now carry the burden, or pay the universe back in silence. Ren looked to Vance. We stop it, right? We have to. But Dax shook his head. If we shut it down, we seal the future with the truth intact. That means telling Earth what it really is. Risking fear, war, collapse. Kovic stood. And if we let it fire, silence, then Vance said, then Earth never exists, not again. We go back into the dirt like this planet wanted. He turned to the team, eyes hard. I'm not erasing us, not again. We face what we were, and what we still are. He walked to the control spire, extended a hand and activated the lock override. The weapon stopped charging, the rift closed, and the being watched, and bowed, not in defeat, in recognition. The room changed the moment the chrono weapon powered. Down. The red glow faded. The rift sealed like a wound healing against its own will. Even the spectral being, once towering and oppressive, now hovered quietly. Its massive form dimmed, more like a shadow than a storm dot. Captain Vance let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. We chose memory over oblivion. No response, only silence. Then the floor beneath their feet shifted again, but not violently, more like a sigh from the planet's crust. The core chamber split into spirals, opening a slow path downward, deeper than any scanner could map. Ren stared into the abyss. We're not done, are we? No, Dax whispered. We made a choice. Now the planet wants to show us what that choice means. Kovic, still pale but steady, stepped beside them. If this world remembers everything, maybe it remembers a way forward too. The team descended. Each step seemed to take hours. Time bent around them, stretched like liquid thought. Their chronometers spun at inconsistent speeds. Gravity shifted, pulsed, colors changed with breath. This wasn't a tunnel. It was a mind, one trying to translate itself into a form they could comprehend. When they emerged, they found no treasure, no monsters, no gods, only a single room and a chair. It was simple, made of obsidian and bone, covered in ancient circuitry. But undeniably human. Floating above it was a sphere, not a weapon, not a prison, a memory core, pure and unfiltered. A hologram of a man flickered into being. They all recognized him instantly. Captain Arlen Creed, founder of the Gravewalkers, dead for over 200 years. He began to speak, not in real time but as a pre-recorded imprint meant to be heard after someone chose memory over silence. If you're hearing this, it means someone finally made the same mistake I did. Welcome to the end of forgetting. I found this place during the 4th expansion war. I wasn't supposed to report it, so I didn't. I buried the entrance. But before I left, I sat in that chair. I remembered. We came from something ancient and monstrous. We fled our past like it was fire, erased it, rebuilt Earth from scratch, rewrote our DNA, reset the timeline. But memory has gravity. It pulls. I founded the Gravewalkers not as soldiers, but as anchors, living memory, trained to feel what we were, even without knowing why. You're not the first to come back here. You won't be the last. The image flickered. A younger version of Creed appeared, bloodied, eyes wild. You want a future? Then don't hide, own it. Teach Earth what we were, show them how not to repeat the fire. But if you're too weak, if humanity chooses fear again, then let Kevar-9 do what it was built for. Let it burn the root, not the branch. The recording ended. Silence returned. Then the being stepped into the chamber. Its body reformed, not monstrous, but mirrored now in their image, a reflection of their potential, not their past. It looked at Vance and spoke. The choice is recognized. The future is your burden now. You may leave. A light flared behind them. The tunnel reappeared. No noise, no force. Just an open path up toward the surface. Ren exhaled. I thought this would end in fire. Kovic nodded. It did. Just not the kind we expected. Dax looked back at the chair. We carry 1 billion ghosts now. Vance turned to his team. We carry purpose, and Earth's going to learn the truth one way or another. They climbed. As they rose, the lights dimmed behind them, not extinguished, only waiting. The silence aboard the Echo Black was heavy, sacred, like they were carrying not just a report, but a relic. Captain Vance stood on the observation deck staring at Earth, blue cloud covered, innocent in its distance, but he knew better now. They all did. Behind him, Ren leaned on the edge of the console, the data crystals secure. Creed's final recording, the core memories, all of it. Dax nodded, encoded and quarantined. But once this gets out, everything changes. Religion, history, identity, everything. Vance turned toward them. That's the point. Kovic silent since Kevar-9 finally spoke. And if they reject it, what if they say it's propaganda, heresy? Vance's voice was calm. Bent, we make them listen. Earth Terran High Command 311 UTC. The team stood before the inner assembly, a circle of the most powerful minds and leaders on Earth and beyond. Generals, scientists, political architects, all eyes fixed on the projection of Creed's hologram. Flickering above the dais, he finished speaking. Silence, then outrage. A Terran archbishop stood. This is heresy, genetic amnesia, galactic resets. You expect us to believe that humanity chose to forget who it was? An admiral slammed his hand on the table. The implications of this are catastrophic. We could face panic, riots, collapse of planetary morale. Vance stepped forward. We faced extinction before, and we beat it. But we didn't fix the cause, we just buried it, and now it's back. You have no proof. One of the genetic archivists challenged. Dax activated a holofield. Dozens of overlapping Gravewalker suits appeared, some ancient, predating modern science. All recovered from Kevar-9, genetic samples, memory cores, battle imprints time-sealed. It's not a story, Dax said. It's evidence. Ren folded her arms. And it's a warning. The planet was ready to erase us again. And next time, we won't be lucky enough to find it first. The room fell into stunned silence. Then, one voice cut through. Chairwoman Chelin Roth, oldest, coldest mind in the room. You want to teach the public we were once monsters? No, Vance said. We want to teach them we overcame being monsters, that we chose peace. But hiding the truth only ensures it comes back. She studied him for a long time, then nodded slowly. You'll need authorization to establish a global memory initiative, protected data zones, psychological transition protocols. You giving us the go-ahead? Ren asked, surprised. No, Ro replied. I'm giving you the burden. But if Earth is to survive its future, it must remember its past. 3 months later, Earth Memory Accord headquarters, Geneva. The broadcast went out to every settlement, station, and colony in the Sol system. They didn't start with fear. They started with creed, then showed images of who humanity had been, of the wars, the collapses, the resets, but also of hope, the moment they chose to forget, not to escape accountability, but to create a second chance, and now a third. Some protested, some wept, some refused to believe, but most listened, because something inside them recognized it, like a whisper buried in their bones. Far orbit observation platform. 6 weeks later, Vance stood once again with his team, watching Earth. Do you think it'll work? Dax asked. I don't know, Vance admitted. But I think we've done the one thing that might give us a future. Kovic nodded. We brought the dead home, and gave them names again. Ren smiled faintly. Gravewalkers. Maybe we're not just soldiers anymore. Vance looked up at the stars. They were silent for a long time. Now they'll listen, because we remember. The winds of Kevar-9 moved like breath through bones, dry, ghost-like, constant. But now, instead of silence, there was motion. Where once a dead world slept, now stood a monument, carved from the fused stone and obsidian of the rift chamber. It bore no words, only names. Thousands of them. The names of humans who had died long before Earth was reborn, before memory was erased, before peace was forced by forgetting. Captain Vance stood before the monument, alone. Not as a soldier, but as a witness. A voice approached behind him. Do you think they hear us now? It was Ren. He nodded. I think they never stopped, we just weren't listening. She looked up at the sky. Stars blinked through the dust clouds. I keep thinking about Creed, about how he found this place, and said nothing. He wasn't ready, Vance said quietly. None of us were. She smiled faintly. But you were. No, but I went anyway. Earth, Global Memory Accord Assembly, 9 o'clock UTC. Across Earth, the Great Reckoning, what some called the Truth Wave, had caused political and cultural earthquakes. Some nations collapsed, others united. Religions fractured, then mended. Wars almost broke out, but never did, because something stranger happened instead. People listened because the truth wasn't just about ancient destruction, it was about the second chance humanity had given itself, and the third they were being offered now. The Accord had become the largest interplanetary initiative in human history. Historical memory restoration, ethical weapon controls, cultural repair projects, even philosophical guidance councils. The Earth that had once erased its past now swore never to forget again. And it started with the Gravewalkers' orbit. Gravewalker Core's recommissioning ceremony. Kovic stood, straight as the new armor was lowered. Onto his frame's sleek black blue, no longer designed to look like death, but like memory wrapped in resolve. A new insignia was forged, a spiral flame, wrapped around an open eye. Not soldiers, he whispered. Custodians, Ren nodded beside him. Guardians of the past, defenders of the future that remembers. Dax grinned from the control deck. Well, I've seen worse job titles. Vance stepped up behind them, now wearing no armor, the old Gravewalker field coat, weathered and clean. We're not going back to Kevar-9 for a while, he said. Kovic raised a brow. Why not? Because we're not the only forgotten places out there. He turned to the holographic star map behind them. More signals had begun to surface. Dozens, some echoing human architecture, others alien, each one pulsed the same message across space. Remember us. Kevar-9 final broadcast pulse classified timestamp. The monument lit briefly, an energy ripple crawling along its surface. The planetary rift pulsed once more, just long enough to send out one final signal. Not to Earth, to the others, to the ones still sleeping, to the ones still watching. A whisper carried through the stars, not in words, in meaning. They chose to remember. Epilogue. Somewhere beyond the Rema world of crystal valleys and magnetic storms stirred. Buried beneath a desert of shifting iron dust, something opened slowly, as if awakening from a deep dream. A machine, a being, or both. Its face was smooth glass, its eyes dim stars. It whispered one word across subspace frequencies, long thought dead Gravewalkers. And then it stood,